Welcome, 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 and thank you for spending some of your time with us. My name is Tina Rosenquist, and this is Knowledge for Wellness. And this show is to enhance your overall understanding of information provided to you. Because when you know more, you are empowered to make better decisions, to enhance yourself and your loved ones for a better quality of life. And knowledge is power. And today's topic is on drop into genius. What if you could close your eyes and within seconds light up regions of your brain associated with universal consciousness? Imagine in the time that most people sit impatiently for a traffic light, you could be lifted into emotional joy, mental peace, and transcendent state of bliss. Now you can discover the wisdom of the Himalayan yoga tradition that Paul has benefited from since 1974. You see, shortly after Paul was trained in the tradition, the idea came to him for an international business serving mankind with a unique audio technology. And that was the birth of Paraliminal Recording and a successful international business, Learning Strategies Corporation. And we will be interviewing Paul in a few minutes.
To obtain your personal copy of Paul Scheele's Drop into Genius, follow the link on Knowledge for Wellness YouTube or Facebook pages.
Welcome back, and I'd like to introduce Paul Scheele. Welcome, Paul.
Great to be with you, Tina. Thanks.
It's such a delight that you're on Knowledge for Wellness. I am just ecstatic because this is so big for me, and I can't tell you how I feel. It's just so great to know world-renowned Paul Scheele's on Knowledge for Wellness. So,
thanks.
But I'm not sure not everyone got to know a lot about you, so I'd really would like you to share with my viewers a little bit about yourself. And of course, your love, your passion, and why you went into this business.
Well, I've been in the human development business since 1975, actually, when I was trained as a professional hypnotist while going to the University of Minnesota in biological sciences. And although I was into my own human development work, my personal development, the opportunity presented itself, and this person who trained me took me under her wing, and actually as a summer job there I was doing clinical hypnosis work. And that really got me started. Worked for International Training Development Company, and then started Learning Strategies Corporation in 1981. And now we're selling products in 185 countries at the time that we're talking right now. Yeah. So it's really grown, and I am now a doctoral student in transformational leadership and change through Antioch University. I'm actually a doctoral candidate, and my focus is on transformative learning. So I'm really, the thing that's probably I'm most passionate about is this idea that every one of us has within us this genius capacity. And when we go to school, traditional education has a tendency to shut that down. So I'm all about standing in favor of the genius that's within you.
Yes, because I know we compare ourselves to other people during the school time, and always something happens that we don't feel quite as adequate.
Oh yeah, why are you so happy? Don't be so happy, sit down, be quiet, pay attention now. I'm going to test you on this, and all of a sudden these natural genius abilities get switched off. In fact, Dr. Buckminster Fuller wrote in the front of Mario Montessori's book, it's actually Maria Montessori's grandson, wrote this statement, said, we're all born genius, but out of 10,000 children, 9,999 of them will be systematically de-geniused by well-intentioned, well-meaning adults. And that was what really happens to many of us in school. Our best qualities get stuffed into a big bag that we drag along behind us through life, and we never really realize the full potential of who we are.
Yeah. And it's so great that you came out with this great book, Drop into Genius.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, and so do you want to share with that a little bit about that with my viewers?
It was fascinating. The concept of Drop into Genius was actually designed through social media. I posted a concept like, can you read a book through the palm of your hand? I've actually discovered how you can do that.
Oh, wow.
And so I just posed the question to a group on Facebook, a couple of thousand people, and they all responded with questions about the topic. And then based on those questions, I had a free teleseminar, and out of that came the chapter of the book. And so each of these chapters are titled with concepts that are quite provocative in order to help stimulate the idea that we can awaken this genius capacity that's within all of us.
Now, that's such a great concept. I love the idea, and to enhance the viewers to know this by reading your book, along with, you know, your history of the learning strategies. Now, I personally had the honor of meeting you at 2 different occasions. So the Transformation Leaders meeting, and then along with the Master Fours. And so I got to see you in action, and I'm not sure a lot of other people did, but a lot of people flew in from out of state to meet up with you
Internationally,
in
yes. Yeah.
And so that in itself. So there's a little bit more about your book, Drop Into Genius. You have basically 3 chapters. It's can you transform your life within a single image? And then also in regards, can you heal yourself with others in a single touch? And then the third one, can you read a book with the palm of your hand? And so these are actual abilities that you show the readers how to achieve.
Well, you know, this idea of can you transform your life with a single image sounds pretty provocative. Because many of us in human potential have learned if you set a goal, then you need to visualize that goal and picture it in your mind. And actually, that creates quite a bit of mischief because we end up creating a lot of things that aren't necessarily in our best interest. So people get their car and they get their home and they get their relationship, they get everything lined up, and then at the end of it all they think, why do I not feel fulfilled? Because a lot of what they end up creating was generated out of their conscious mind and their desire for the stuff of the world. But if we would be quiet or still enough to pay attention to this other image that's within us, even while we're holding the goal of, say, the ideal relationship or the perfect home that we would choose to live in, if we would close our eyes just briefly, focus on that image, and then allow the image to guide you.
Okay.
In other words, follow the image and see where it takes you, because it is the unfolding of that image which is the true destiny, the emerging future, which is trying to show up. So think of that. I mean, all of us are born into this world from stardust. This whole planet was just molten rock at one time, and all life has sprung out of this planet. Now, that means that there's very little difference between any living thing on this planet. Our genetic codes are very, very similar, mostly the same.
Yes.
And when we start thinking about, so I am actually an evolutionary impulse that has come to this as fruition. So actually this unfolding universe is expressing itself through me as me. It's expressing itself through you as you. So what is it that we are to become? What is it that is trying to be the highest expression of who we are in this world? That is always trying to communicate to us.
Okay.
If we'll pay attention to what's going on inside of our own minds, we'll actually see the very next step that we're supposed to take, how the perfect future is supposed to unfold before us. And by simply dropping in, just a matter of a few moments, by dropping into that place of quiet, silence within us, we can actually create the life that we desire.
Yeah. And if we let it flow, and we always have these blocks, it seems that, you know, you're not good enough, smart enough, or you don't have the ability, but you've already given up if you don't pursue it or listen to that as well. And I know in this hurried, busy world, we really don't take the time.
Well, I think it's important also to express this idea that I came up with the concept of Learning Strategies Corporation not because I think I'm the world's greatest learner,
Right.
I came up with it because I'm actually a wounded learner.
Oh.
And if you would just pay attention to this idea, if you don't think you're good enough, notice that. Because it's out of a fear of discovering or letting other people know that you don't feel you're good enough that we cover up or we withhold the full potential of who we are. And really what we can do is we can go into that fear and do the thing anyway. So whatever you feel is holding you back, for example, I would never want to get up in front of a television camera, or I would never want to speak, or I don't want to write a book because what would happen if people read it and they didn't like it? Any of those fears, if you face that fear and do the thing anyway, what you'll discover inside of that is that true power and passion that you desire to express in the world. Do you know that the word passion actually has its root in the concept of suffering?
Oh. Well,
so what we're most passionate about is really oftentimes the things that we suffer the most about. For example, my desire to represent human genius and really help people express that comes from a crossroads of what I'm most outraged about and what I'm most impassioned about.
okay.
So what I'm most outraged about is people who shut down the genius of children, shut down the creativity that's trying to express in the world. And I'm most passionate about reclaiming that brilliance, reclaiming that genius capacity that is within all of us.
Wow. Now you had also mentioned that you yourself, previously, you were wounded in your own.
Sure.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that with us?
Yeah, you know, when I went through school, I didn't think I was very bright. I didn't think I was the most outstanding student. I had an opportunity to study in an American school when my family was living overseas in the Middle East. My father was a consultant, and when we moved back to New York, everybody seemed to know what was going on except me.
Oh.
And so I thought, gee, well, I don't know this math curriculum. I don't know this, this history curriculum. I don't know any of this stuff. So I honestly thought that if I was ever confused, that was a bad thing.
Oh.
See, confusion is a natural step in the learning process. But I thought, you know, there must be something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? Why can't I learn?
Right.
And so it was out of that woundedness that I thought there must be a better way to learn. I wonder what it could be.
Yeah.
And that's where I discovered the concepts of accelerated learning, pre-conscious processing, and using the full power and potential of the human mind.
Yeah. That's so great. And to know that we all have a little bit of learning different abilities. Some are visual learners, they need to see it. Some are reading learners, and they can just read something, pick it up right away. Whereas, you know, you can enhance that person to become a better person.
Well, that's true. You know, all of us, it was interesting when my children were born, one of them was very gifted in intelligences that I think all of us would think about as being really brilliant, linguistic and logical, math and English, that sort of thing. My second son was skilled in interpersonal, musical, bodily kinesthetic, spatial, and he didn't have the skills that his brother had. So I saw one as being very gifted and the other not. And when they were tested by a neighbor who was doing her master's degree in gifted ed, she said, both of these kids are very gifted, and you really should have both of them tested when they get to school. And sure enough, each one of my three boys were identified as high potential kids and for the gifted and talented pull-out program. And I think that's true about every single person. Every human being has that capacity for giftedness that isn't necessarily recognized by a particular teacher. So I thought I was dumb in math. Really smart in geometry, but terrible in trigonometry. Well, why? I love my geometry teacher. I hated my trigonometry teacher, my algebra teacher, you see.
Wow.
Yeah.